Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of your favourite kind of history podcast. It's Mythstories with myself and Kieran Bartlett, who it seems to me is draping his knitwear now.
I've decided to drape. It's too warm to wear.
Do you know what the problem is? I think you promised more than you could deliver.
I did.
With your knitwear, you made it seem like you had 20 items in knitwear.
And really, I have about 7.
We've seen like 2 or 3. You're just wearing them different ways.
I have about 7.
They're just all different colour?
They're all mostly black and grey.
Right.
I have this one, which is like a school jumper style.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you know there is one? Fuck. It'll be in season 2. There's one that's in the house that I haven't worn that's brownish.
Right,
and it's
which is Irish for brown.
And it's has like wee stripes and all. It's a Christmassy vibe.
Okay.
I have this one, I have that one. I have my green iron one. I have a grey iron one. I have a black like zip through one.
Like, people want to see this.
And I have I have about 7. I think I have 7 or 8. Yeah,
right.
7.
Now, we should point out that Dan's producing, Fosty's normally here, but he went to a stag do in Texas and is MIA, so we don't know where he is. He's phoning me. Do I take it on the episode?
Take it on the episode, embarrassing.
Fosty, you're live on an episode of Mythstories here. Are you coming in, mate?
Not today.
Oh no! Are we going to be doing an episode on your time in Texas?
Yes, absolutely.
Historic.
All right, man. Well, listen, I'm going to let you recover from whatever ails you, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, love you.
All right, partner. Love you too. Bye.
Too much barbecue, fat boy.
yeah, because that's what it is, brisket.
Yeah.
So yeah, Fosty's not going to be here. So Dan he's really dug himself into the hole by revealing that because Fosty's not going to be here, there will be no light of the Emperor of Vespasian.
Yeah, I feel like the lamp of Vespasian would have been flashing there while I was counting through my network. Dan's stumping the desk.
Look, let's get into this episode, which we want to dedicate to Fosty and hope he recovers and gets better soon.
Absolutely.
But they can treat everything now, so it's all good. This episode is now. Can I just point out first of all, Dan has done a lot of UHR in the last few days.
What's that?
Unnecessary historical research. Can I tell you about? Can I tell you about an amusing historical mix-up?
Yeah.
Not amusing for Dan. Seething.
Right.
Dan texted. We were talking about we'll do William Wallace or he goes we'll do Rob Roy.
Yeah, Rob Roy. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, yeah, Robert the Bruce. So I said, yes, mate, Rob all the way. So this morning I was talking about Robert the Bruce, and he's like, you're doing Rob Roy. I said, no. In the WhatsApp, I said Bobby Bruce. But then, yeah, he thought I was doing Rob Roy.
Meanwhile, I've been reading about everything about Robbie Williams because I just didn't really read the message.
Rob Roy, Rob the Bruce, Rob Williams, Rob Brydon. Dan's been balls deep in Rob Roy for the past week.
Fosty's just robbing us all of our time.
So,
can I just say how much I enjoyed?
Hold on, 2 seconds. I think that pot's calling my kettle black. Don't ever talk to anyone about time.
I just enjoyed when he said, "Not today."
Not today, mate. Like he sounded like a dying bouncer. Not today, folks. What we are doing today is Robert the Bruce.
Bobby Bruce.
One of the most important historical figures in British history. Now, what do you know about Bobby the Bruce, and is most of it based on the film Braveheart?
Yes, it's all based on Braveheart.
Because see, in my head, the guy who plays him, that's how he looked.
Yeah.
To me.
Handsome bastard. The furs of Scotland.
Well, he apparently was handsome.
Really?
A very handsome guy. And Edward, who look at that. He weirdly looks. He looks like my dad a wee bit.
He does.
Robert the Bruce. We're going to be talking about Edward Longshanks a little bit as well. Who again, apparently, HSG, historically sexy guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Played in the movie by Patrick McGoohan.
Right.
Of Ivanhoe fame, I think.
The restaurant in Carryduff.
Yeah. He loves that. He loved it in there. Do you know? All I know about Edward Longshanks, also based on the movie Braveheart, is the line, "The trouble with Scotland is that it's full of Scots." and then everyone laughs.
Like, he contributed nothing else bar that line, and they're like, this guy has a zinger.
Yeah, hates his son as well.
Yeah.
Hates his son and his son's gay mate. Throws him out the window.
That's who we're going to be talking about, don't worry, later on. Right, let's talk about Robert the Bruce, born in 1274 at Turnberry Castle in Scotland. Robert the Bruce was born into, like, a noble family. So he gets known kind of, he's called, like, the outlaw king and things like that. But we've done episodes and talked about people in history who are outlaws and rebels, and they normally come from impoverished backgrounds. Make no mistake, Robert the Bruce is coined up.
Can I ask a question about him? A genuine
Yes.
question.
I may or may not know the answer.
What is the about?
Right, well, his family were like Bruce.
Like
his name's Robert
Earls
Bruce.
of Bruce or something, were there? Or?
It's like, so his grandfather. Go ahead,
Don't
Dan.
look at me, Kieran. I know all about Rob Roy.
It was just I don't know. His grandfather was very famous as well. He was Robert the, like, optioner or something. It was
Right,
really
okay.
weird.
I just mean, like, it's a bit like going Shane the Todd. You know what I mean? It's a
Please
bit,
do.
It's just, or when people call it the Moy.
Do you think he didn't have, like, something he was really well? You know, the way they'd be like, you know, Kieran the Small Hands. Do you think he didn't have something? So
that?
they're like, oh, you're just Robert the, and he's like, Bruce,
Bruce.
just my surname.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
wick nickname, isn't it, Robert the Bruce? But anyway, to give you a bit of background, noble family, so he would have been very well educated, spoke various languages, military tactics. He would have had connections, and his dad was like a main guy,
Right.
right? And they're involved in the kind of the lineage of the crown of Scotland.
Right, okay.
What you need to
And
know
what,
about,
in like a dispute about who ruled Scotland?
well,
or?
his life, most of his life is a dispute about the crown.
Fuck's sake.
I know.
What
Nothing
imagine making that your
straightforward.
whole life.
I know.
The ruled Scotland, like.
Yeah, and spoiler, let's see, by the time when we get to the end where he dies, he basically, it's like winning the lotto a week before you die.
Right,
Right?
right,
Okay.
right.
So there's obviously at this point, there is huge instability in Scotland. The Balliol, may not be wrong pronunciation, family kind of have been given the rights to rule Scotland. There's Edward the First, right, the King of England.
The Longshanks.
Longshanks is running Scotland, right? He's basically being like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you that. And he's not the official ruler, but he basically is.
So it's the sort of thing where English kings at this time used to like look at a bit of land and go, I own that.
I'll take that. What happens is they don't, the lineage runs out. The king dies. I think the king's daughter gets is next in line, but she ends up dying when she's 7. I think I have that right. They appoint some guardians to just oversee like a transition and take care of things. But what happens is all these noble families come forward and say, I have the right. I should be the king. The Scots are so worried about the instability that they go to Edward and they say, give us a hand with this process of picking a king.
This is the equivalent of when you have a row in your marriage and somebody decides to go to their ma.
Right, yeah.
Foolish.
Yeah.
Keep it in your own
Edward
gaff.
just comes over, arms crossed.
Keep it in your own house.
Now, we all have problems in our marriage, but what's going on here?
What are you doing to my son?
Yes, yeah.
Just leave it. Just don't get involved.
So there's like a 2-year court, like a grand court into all these claims and all this, and Edward appoints something like 104 English jurors to this.
Oh my God.
People to decide.
Imagine how boring that was.
Yeah.
And then I bet you it's like people coming in with like bits of paper that they've teabagged, now historical teabagging, not modern.
Yeah.
Where they teabag it to make it look old and like burn the edges off it to make it look like a
Yeah,
4th-year history project. And come in and go, look, it says on this bit of old paper, I'm the king. The jurors are going, fuck.
Yeah.
Why does it smell like coffee? Do you know what I mean?
Burning it. So Robert's dad, who is like a really well known nobleman, resigns from his position. Robert becomes the Earl of Carrick. So Robert's basically saying, I see that throne and I want to take it.
Right.
Now, in loads of historical depictions, he comes across as this, like, he's this hero. He's celebrated. Real historical bad bastard.
Right, okay.
This guy would have done anything for the crown. Anything. He's going to kill men, women, children. He's going to burn villages in
Really?
Scotland. Yes, he's a Scottish hero. This guy will not think twice. It'd be like us.
RTB HBB.
Huh?
RTB HBB.
What's that?
Robert the Bruce, historical bad bastard.
That's what they say.
That's mental. I didn't know he's burning
that-
fucking villages.
Put that in the keyring. He is. It's just a quest for this crown. It sends
Right.
all these people mad. Anyway, there's a lot of disputes. Clearly, Scottish are fighting the English quite a bit. English are sort of like ruling Scotland, and no one really knows who's in charge. So Dan, could you scroll down a little bit in that timeline for me? Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah, that'll do. Thank you.
Revealing the man behind the curtain here a wee bit. Interesting.
So yeah, because I want to be clear on
Some dates.
dates, and I want to be clear on timeline.
You normally don't care about stuff like that. You're normally just like
I know, but
fluid.
here's my problem. I've gone with multiple sources on this, and it's
Right,
got
right,
into my
okay.
brain, and it's diluted my head.
Plus, you've also got the very strong source of Braveheart.
It's the
Which-
only
it's
source. you
really
need.
hard. See when you've seen like something like that.
Yeah,
It's hard. Like it's hard for me now to learn that Robert the Bruce isn't just this handsome bastard in a fur coat. Like
you've got the Balliol families, right, and they're running this guy John Balliol. He's the king of Scotland.
is that the same like Balliol as like Balliol College, Oxford? Is that the same? Is it
Yeah,
named
yeah,
after
yeah.
him?
It is. It actually is. I have no idea. See, with historical stuff like that, you just go probably like.
Right.
Because that's just Oxford is historical and all,
I know,
and so
and
he's a
that's,
historical guy.
it's a weird name if it's not that. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
He's in prison though, this John Balliol guy, and in the Tower of London because
No,
Edward was like, "This is my boy," but by appointing John Balliol king, he was like, you're my bitch,
Yeah.
you're my wee rent boy.
I went past the Tower of London on a train there not that long ago, I think, or it might have been in a car, I can't remember. Definitely went past it, and when I was in London last time,
Right.
it's fucking rare, like it's scary, like you wouldn't want to be stuck in there.
Sorry, that's the end of that story.
I could have.
I went past the Tower of London.
You wouldn't want to be in it. It's fucking grim.
Well, John Balliol had no choice.
No, I know what I'm saying. It must have been shit for him.
Because Edward goes, I'll make you the king of Scotland. John Balliol goes, great, and then he starts giving him all these caveats. He starts basically telling him like, here's the way it is.
Edward the Shawshanks, you know what I mean, imprisoning people.
John Balliol does not deserve more.
I did.
John Balliol,
I'll do it myself.
he doesn't like it. You're patting the head of the nipple, so boy
Yeah.
for yourself. He doesn't like it, right? Robert the Bruce. Here's the thing about Robert the Bruce, right? Robert the Bruce is a guy who, this Scottish hero, and people obviously he's always in the conversation with William Wallace, but a lot of the time he was swearing allegiance and taking a knee to Edward, to the English, because his village and his castle, I think, was in a place called Carrick, not the Carrick here, Carrick in Scotland, and to keep like his people sweet, to make sure they were loyal to him, he made sure he had a good relationship with Edward.
Right.
But something you'll see throughout talking about him is he always flip-flops on that. So it's optics with him.
Mm.
And do you like that? Do you think like, okay, it has to be done as a necessary evil?
I don't
Or you-
usually like people like that in history, but like in bastards. I
Mm-hmm.
I like people who stand for something. I definitely don't like people who sort of lick the whole of whoever's persecuting the most of their own people, if you know what I mean.
That's what he was doing, but he's from this noble family. They had a lot of lands, so they wanted to keep the lands, basically.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like, he's definitely a wee bit like, here, Robert, lick your lips.
Yeah.
Taste Longshanks.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Taste his horse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So he wants to keep all these lands. He's sworn allegiance to the English, but always in the back of his head, all he wants is to be the king of Scotland. He wants Scotland to be this independent, strong nation. But he knows how to play the game. He's skilled in diplomacy. Now, there comes a time when Robert the Bruce and this other guy called John Comyn are appointed as guardians of the crown. So this guy John Comyn has what would you say, like a claim to the throne as well. So instead of people, what?
John, I noticed that he's not called John the Comyn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that would be like, the second coming,
Well, I
Or
don't know
could
whether
you
he's
smell?
called Coming or Common with an N or a G. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But him and
It doesn't matter.
him and Robert.
What a brilliant thing to say on a history podcast. This guy's name, it doesn't matter. Fuck him.
He's called John
Comyn.
Common.
Common,
Oh.
yeah. Common people.
John Common and Robert the Bruce are appointed as guardians of Scotland, really. So what they are is really like placeholders till they figure out this whole thing
Right.
of who's gonna be king.
Imagine being a fucking like a temp file on the Scottish throne. Imagine being that.
But still one of the better files to be.
Yeah. The Bruce file.
So what happens is, these guys are the guardians, but John Common, bit of a mouthpiece.
Right.
He's basically, I think Edward's going, just I be the king, and then you can be my mate, and I'll sort
You
you
can
out.
be my Nepalese soy boy up in Scotland.
And he's going, nah. So these boys really don't like each other, and this culminates in Robert the Bruce going to see John Common in a church in Dumfries.
Right. I've been to Dumfries.
Have you been in any churches there?
No, but I've been to Dumfries. I think isn't that the home,
It's on the
home
border.
of Robbie Burns?
It's near the border. Oh,
I think it's Dumfries.
Right,
I think
okay.
it is. I was there when I was 8 years old. We stopped there for a cup of tea. On the way, we drove.
on the way home from Belfast.
We drove from the boat in Stranraer to
Yes.
Huddersfield. Brutal.
What a grim trip.
It was a
Were you going to
grim-
Huddersfield to see family,
Yeah.
or your mum and dad were like, "Hey, we're going on holiday to Huddersfield"?
Yeah. We went for 2 weeks, but we went to see.
Is this
family.
to see your auntie who talked like that?
We went to see Auntie Anne. And my Uncle Tom, who remembers the streets were wider. Yeah.
What did
Do you
she
want
say?
a can of pop? No, give me lemonade. And give me your own Belfast accent. Oh my
That
god.
lives rent free in my head. Would you like a can of pop? That lives rent free in my head. You saying that, I can never.
There was
get that out of
there
my
was a
head.
shop down the road from them called Leo's, and she would go, "Do you want to go to Leo's?" And I'd be like, "The lilt of your voice, oh, give me a
And
can
funny
of
enough,
lilt."
that's what I want. Pat the head of the Nepalese soy boy for that.
Unreal.
Anyway.
Is Dumfries where he was from, right enough? Yes.
Nice.
I love facts.
Nice, great extra fact. So Robert the Bruce wants to be king of Scotland. Him and John Comyn are guardians, and there's a third guardian as well, who's a bishop from Glasgow, right? Anyway, because by the way, at this point, I need to point out the church rules everything,
Right, okay.
right? So the church, and at this time, Scotland has a really, really great relationship with the Vatican, with the
Right,
Pope.
okay.
So they don't have to go through England for anything.
Right.
Right, they have a direct line. They have that hotline bling with the Vatican.
Yep.
So that's really important to the church, right? They love that. Robert the Bruce goes to see John Comyn, arranges a meeting in a church in Dumfries. They both walk in. Only one man walks out. There's a little
He killed
bit.
him in a fucking church?
He absolutely stabs him.
Oh my god.
They have obviously like a quarrel. Robert the Bruce saying something like, you said you were going to back me up. You haven't. Maybe they had an agreement he reneged on. Robert the Bruce stabs him.
Quarrel's a great word to use for that as well.
Quarrel's great,
because
isn't
a quarrel was, I think, a name for like a weapon, like a crossbow bolt that you would lift or something
Right.
and try and stab someone with it.
Right.
But that's where quarrel comes from. Something like that's definitely a weapon.
Would you want a quarrel from Leo's? We could go down to
Do you want
Leo's.
to go to Leo's for a quarrel?
Yeah.
It is.
Crossbow bolt?
A bolt or arrow having a square or four-edged head.
Lads,
Nice
come
one,
on
Dan.
now. I'm literally pulling crossbow bolts out of my asshole here. This is unbelievable.
You've had bigger things up there.
Sky remote.
Sky Dish. Anyway, he kills him. He kills
Mental.
John Common.
In
Now
a
there's
church.
there's a whole thing exactly.
That's mental.
He
That's
shed
mental.
this guy who wants to be the king of Scotland. Has shed blood in a church. He's murdered another nobleman. By the way, John Common is connected. He's a top boy.
He's made man.
He's got a lot of followers. His family's massive. Like Robert the Bruce doing this sets in motion everything that's going to happen. There's no going back when he does this. Now, he sort of does this thing where he's definitely stabbed John Common, who's either bleeding out or already dead. And then he goes out to one of his mates and he goes, here, you go. One of his mates, I think his surname was Fitzpatrick. I might be wrong. Anyway, one of Robert the Bruce wee mates goes, I'll go in and basically like finish him off. So he wanks him off in a church.
Grab my last request and give me a hard wank while I'm bleeding out.
Oh no! So he basically Robert the Bruce tries to get this rumor going that we had a fight and all, but it was my mate who went in and I didn't actually kill him. He did, right? He definitely did. He knows how much of a shitstorm this is going to cause, so Robert the Bruce flees. He gets out of there because he knows word's going to get back to the Pope.
Right.
Right? So he gets out of there, he flees, and one of the places that... he flees and he goes straight to this bishop in Glasgow who pardons him. Now, he needs to get across Scotland to Glasgow, from the coast right up to Glasgow, and he goes to see this bishop who not only forgives him and says, like, in the eyes of God, you're forgiven, he gives him robes and a banner for his coronation, to be sworn in as king.
Massive.
So, but this is seen as very, like, illegitimate,
Yeah.
you know? So he's done it under the cover of darkness. He's killed the other guy that has the claim. So,
Massive.
after this, right, this...
What? Sorry, when was this? What, like, roughly? So what age was this when this happened?
this
He's in
is...
his 20s.
This is 12... This is 1298,
So he's like 24?
roughly. Yeah, he's in his 20s. So,
Everybody makes mistakes in their 20s, but, like, don't know that I've ever
you don't know if
stabbed
you
somebody
ever
up.
knifed John Common in
Yeah.
a church in Dumfries.
Stabbed somebody up in a church and then gone to the bishop for my new clothes. I've never
Yeah.
done that.
After this, right, he gets crowned as king. The thing about Robert the Bruce is they think he's the only king in history to have two coronations because someone was missing from the first one. So when Edward hears this, by the way, he goes bonkers. He's like, can't believe you've done this and all. You're a rat. You're a snake.
You're
You know,
a wee snake.
wee snake.
Imagine the knitwear the bishop gave him.
Mm.
My God. 13th century Scottish knit.
So this starts off this chain of horrific things that happen. But Robert the Bruce is acting like the king, but the commons are after him. Like,
Had the rave version of the Rave Heart, as I like to call it, had that come out?
you mean the Clubland remix?
Yeah. What way does that go again?
That soundtrack.
What way does the Oh,
Class.
fucking unbelievable.
Robert. Now there's
That should have been called Rave Heart, shouldn't it?
yeah. Dan, could you scroll down just a little bit? Okay.
This is great on the timeline. An
Right.
English army attacks Scotland. Next point. Yet another English army attacks Scotland.
So
Oh, here, look at this woman. Look at the name of the woman he married. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead.
you're jumping ahead. Please
Sorry.
don't. Now, I'm trying not to. If some of my dates and things are wrong about this, just everybody shut up, right? William Wallace at this point is leading Scottish armies to defeat the English. He is kicking the shit out of the English, left, right, and centre. they have these full battles. Yes,
Was he noble, or was it like in Braveheart where he wasn't?
Second son of like a minor nobleman.
Right. Okay.
William Wallace. Yeah, William Wallace is like, if you want to think of him as like the working class hero, kind of. Robert the Bruce is not that. I'm not saying that was William Wallace, because in the film they make him seem
Yeah.
that. I just mean Robert the Bruce was even way more noble than that. So William Wallace is kind of doing all this fighting. He's on the battlefield. He's leading it. Robert the Bruce is not on the battlefield, right? He's
Can we start calling William Wallace Mel the Gibson?
he's making the odd. Robert the Bruce makes the odd cameo, but in reality, he's more of a.
Gibson the anti-Semite. Oh my god. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But he's making the odd, he's making the odd appearance. He's like a McDonald's general manager.
Right. Yeah.
He's not flipping the chips, but every once in a while he'll come in and take
He'll
an apple pie home to the wife.
Yeah.
Dan, scroll down a bit more for me, and then we're going to come back to that.
These are important bits. So, like, there's a couple of important battles there. Stirling Bridge was an important one for the Scots.
Sorry,
They
Dan.
won,
Dan, go back down.
and then they lost the Battle of Falkirk.
Yes. Before the coronation, there's a lot of battles left, right, and centre. Edward the First is at the Battle of Falkirk, especially 20,000 Scots dead.
And you know what they say about Scotland? The trouble with it is that it's full of Scots.
Now, that happens, the Battle of Falkirk. Stirling Castle is regained. Stirling Castle is going to be really important in the story of Robert the Bruce.
Is that where they run Scotland from? Is it or?
Stirling's like in the history of Scotland really important because of its geographical position. It's known as like the heart of Scotland.
Right.
So if
Okay.
you control it, you have access to the whole country.
It and its rivers are one of the most pivotal things
Right,
to Scottish
okay.
history and this story. So that's that the Battle of Falkirk is 1298. Robert the Bruce is like attacking England at this point, and he's like, I'm really Scottish and all, right? I hate the English. In the early 14th century, there's a lot of back and forth. Robert marries Christa Berg's daughter, Elizabeth de Burgh. Never seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight.
That's a sensational de Burgh.
But wait for this. Wait till it's the way Christa Berg says dance, right? Never seen so many men ask you if you wanted to dance. Looking for a little romance.
Give it half a chance.
Dad, scroll down for us.
That's sensational.
The English army it attacks Scotland in 1304, regains control of Stirling Castle, which becomes really important. The year after that is when William Wallace is charged with treason and executed.
Holy shit.
Now,
That's the fucking...
after...
That's when your man goes, ask for mercy. And he's all like...
Mercy.
And he doesn't say it. And he just goes... And he,
You know what I would have
and your
said at that
man's
point?
about-
Mercy.
Your man's about to come, thinking he's going to say mercy when he sucks in his last breath. And he shouts freedom. Oh,
Freedom.
Mel the Gibson. What a fucking man. Like,
If you were in that situation, your last word would be, Chloe!
if I was even near that situation, I would have just gone, here, aye, lads. Mercy me.
No, mercy me.
I'll play you a fucking game of mercy.
No,
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's the way to win mercy. That
Do you want to play it?
down and no, because you'll win. I have tiny hands.
I
I can only play it with children. That's
If ever there was a time for the light of Emperor Vesuvius, it's now. So look, I want to get to this. I want to get to this battle, right? I'm going to muddy things up. Things are left, right, and centre. People in the YouTube comments are going mental at me. Why is Dr. Kieran associating with this guy who clearly knows nothing about history? The Robert the Bruce thing, when he killed John Comyn, I think might have come later. Who cares?
right.
Who cares? But in 1306, after the death of William Wallace, he becomes King of Scotland, right?
Right.
And there's that second coronation that I was telling you about, which happens in Scone Abbey. But
What happened at school?
it's Scone.
Schoon. What happened there?
He gets crowned.
Oh,
That's where
right,
he's
okay.
crowned King of Scotland. But
He's
the stone
first-
Kieran, let me tell you this. The Stone of Scone was not present at the inauguration, so a lot of people said that makes it null and void. So the whole way through him being king, which he is now the king, and he has done everything possible to get himself there, so he's never going to give this up easy. Now,
Never gonna give you
you've rickrolled me there.
Right.
So let me Rob roll you and tell you this. Once he becomes king, he takes on the English quite a bit, but he loses a lot. So what the English want are these open field battles, right? That's their skill. Is these big, because they have the cavalry, they have these war horses, which the Scots don't have. Nobody else in Europe really has like them.
Right.
So they are seen at the time as like the ultimate, and they just want open warfare.
Longshanks is looking at them when they're gonna fire arrows.
Yeah.
In Braveheart, have you seen? Do you remember this bit? And he says something along the lines. The guys go, "But my lord, we risk what is it? We risk danger to our own infantry." And he goes, "Kill that, kill ours, just as good." This is Patrick McGoohan.
But here's the thing about that. See, in the movie, he's a old, wee ugly guy.
Yeah, he's like, and they make it so he dies at the same moment as William Wallace and all.
In real life, apparently Edward Longshanks was a sexy big bastard. Yeah, a big man.
Well, there is that bit where he looks at Sophie
Who's
Marceau.
saying that? Like, I reckon he's paid people to
You could
You
have
think he's
done.
paid them? You think he's running about?
do a portrait of me there.
Hello.
Yeah.
Say I was sexy. Hello.
The trouble with my underwear is that it's full of dick. You know what I mean? Tell people I have a big fucking schlong and I'm good looking.
Yeah, really pump up a crotch in all my statues, will you?
Up the crotch.
Paying off stonemasons. But Edward Longshanks, let me tell you this. Considered by even Scottish people back then reluctantly agreed he was a don.
Right, okay.
Right? This guy was one of the best kings in terms of like warfare and all that kind of thing ever. One of the greatest warriors in history. Right? So you give him open warfare, red rag do a bull. He loves it. Catnip do a cat. A scone to you.
Yeah. Do you know, I don't really like scones.
You don't really.
I don't. I would never. Do you know what I hate? I hate when you say to somebody, "Here, we'll go for you know like do you know who does this? My mum. See if you said to my mum, "Here, do you want to go for lunch?" I'll be wanting like a sandwich or something, and mum will go, "I'll just have a scone." I'm like,
Dan, scroll down a wee bit for me. Thank you. There's good. In
"Oh fuck! I didn't know about this."
yeah. What happens is I've got things very wrong, but every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. Remember the thing with John Common? It has happened yet.
I
Fuck.
think it has. No, it has.
It has. In 1306, Robert the Bruce flees Scotland. He's had all these big battles. He's lost
Keeps
them.
losing them, aye.
Now,
What a
whenever
dick.
Robert the Bruce killed John Common and shed blood, the Pope went absolutely nuts. Robert the Bruce is not popular in Scotland because what the church does, what the Vatican does, is denounce not just Robert the Bruce, it denounces Scotland.
Oh shit.
So he's not popular. He's losing all these battles, and he flees Scotland. The king flees, and where does he go? Do you know this?
No, I'm just saying it now.
Rathlin Island.
Oh my god.
So you know we've done
I
gigs in
haven't even seen
Rathlin.
that.
You know I love Rathlin, which is a
Did he take the ferry? Did he go to Morton's? Oh, mate, Morton's the Bruce.
in Ballycastle, the Chippy in Ballycastle.
Yeah, fucking
It's not mentioned in historical
Morton's
details.
the chip.
But
oh my god.
Robert the Bruce went to Rathlin Island, which is, if you don't know, it's an island off the coast of Ballycastle in Northern Ireland.
What
It's
a
4 by 6 miles. It's rugged, it's beautiful. We've done gigs there before. I love it.
Puffins out the asshole if you like puffins.
And there is one thing they talk about a lot on the island is when Robert the Bruce seeked solace there. He was there for, I think, a year. At
That
least a
shows
year.
you how little actually has happened there. They're still talking about our gigs 5 years ago.
Richard
and
Brown-
Robert the Bruce.
Richard Branson crashed a hot air balloon there. It's true. But there is, and now
Richard
we're getting,
the
because
Branson.
a lot of what we're talking about is
Branson the
Kieran,
Virgin.
stop
Sorry,
it.
that was a good one though.
A lot
Sorry.
of Dick the Branson. A lot of what we're talking about is Dick the Branson pickle, Dickle. A lot of what we're talking about is fact, but let's talk about a little bit of myth. Let's talk about a little bit of legend. I love this for some reason. There's a famous legend that Robert the Bruce was in a cave on Rathlin when he'd fled to Rathlin. He was taking some time away from his men. He was in a cave, and he had been defeated twice in these famous battles by Edward. But as he was in this cave with no distractions, he saw a spider trying to make a web, and the spider tried to make a web, failed. Tried to make a web again, and it failed. And he thought the spider was going to give up, but the spider came back, tried to make a web again, and succeeded, and made a web. So Robert the Bruce thought about his own challenges and his own struggles. He tried to battle the English, big battle, failed, tried again, failed, and the easy thing to do would just be give up and stay on Rathlin, stay fleeing. But by the way, the English have his wife and his daughters.
Right, okay.
They've taken them away.
The Berg, Lady in Red,
Yeah.
getting fucking
Well,
by the English.
they were sent to nunneries and things like that.
Were they? Aye.
Now,
Sent after they've been blasted, no doubt.
when he
Don't come the long shanks or nothing.
when he sees this spider, he thinks about the fact that he's lost twice to the English, and he says, "You know what? The third time, I'm going to succeed." He goes back to Scotland. The Commons, the whole family, are still like their problem in his anus. Boom, defeated. The McDougals are another family that are, quarrelling with him and his beaten. Robert the Bruce gets real support in 1309 as the king. He gets it going. You know what I mean? He comes back and he goes, "Listen, I'm not playing games. I'm the boy. Bobby Bruce isn't fucking around." In 1314, he demolishes Edinburgh Castle that the English are in.
See. Right, yeah, sorry. This next point, this is what I want to fucking talk about.
In 1314, he invades Ulster. That went on for years, by the way, but you know what happens? We won.
Good.
We win.
Good.
Yep.
Fuck off.
He sets
Bruce.
up his brother Edward as the King of Ireland. In 1314, what I want to talk about is the Battle of Bannockburn,
Yeah, this is massive.
which re-establishes Scottish independence. So this happens in Stirling. Do you know much about this battle?
I know that Scotland win.
Right. I love this.
I know that at the end of Braveheart, the show, that handsome bastard who played him, I can't remember his name by the way, but he's also in the movie Equilibrium. But anyway, he shows you him with Braveheart's wife's wee fucking cum rag, and he fucking huffs it and sticks it into his armour and then fucking charges him at Bannockburn. Yeah.
So
They make it
Bannockburn.
seem like it was 10 minutes after William Wallace died, but actually it was like fucking 10 years.
Yeah, probably not the same rag.
Angus McFadden.
Angus McFadden, yeah, and he's been fucking, what was he doing all that time? Getting on like he owns Ireland, hiding in a fucking cave.
Now, confusingly, Robert the Bruce has a brother called Edward, who obviously isn't King Edward.
Yeah.
By the way, now it's Edward's son. Edward Longshanks is dead.
Right.
In these intervening years, we've got Edward II, in who is definitely not his dad.
Did he have a nickname? Edward II?
Eddie too. Ed squared.
I'd love it if he did. Sorry, Dan.
No.
I would
We
love
don't.
it.
We don't need to know.
I
He's
just
Edward
no, but
II.
I like wee nicknames. You know, like fucking Kieran the Meek or something. You know what I mean?
He's a young king, right? So the Battle of Bannockburn, it re-establishes Scottish independence. It happens in Stirling, just outside Stirling Castle. So what I love about this is, it's kind of funny because Eddie, we'll call King Edward, but we'll call Robert the Bruce's brother Ed.
Right. Okay.
Ed has Stirling Castle, right? He's running that. He says to the English that are in the castle beforehand, the English are in there. Ed and his mates are surrounding it, and they're like, we're going to win. But what he does is, you ever say when you're a kid in the playground, you go, someone slabbers at you, and you go, say it to my face, and then they do come and say it to your face, and you shit yourself a bit.
Yeah.
He says to the English that are in there, he goes, "Listen, I'm going to pick the date, June 23rd. He goes, unless you have your entire army here ready to fight us by June 23rd, I'm coming in taking that castle. So you've got till June 23rd. Let's see how this works out. June 23rd, absolutely mugged. Entire English army arrives. Ed has fucked it. Now, they didn't have the entire army because England were still fighting in France at this point.
Right, okay.
But he sends like, you know, he doesn't send like the top guys, Edward, but he sends like the B team.
Right, okay.
He sends the second string, but they're still way more
Yeah.
numbers than the Scottish. So then Bobby Bruce is like, Ed, you Egypt. So he goes, right, we're gonna have to go down and have a big fight with him. So they go down. Now, what happens is, around Stirling Castle, there's a lot of waterways. There's the Pale River, and you've got like strategic land. So what they do is the Scottish block off the road for the English, and they kind of move to both sides, and they have a little bit of a head to head. What the Scottish do is they've dug these pits with spears in them.
Right, okay.
So when the English cavalry, which is their main weapon, comes forward, they fall into these
Nightmare.
pits. The English set up camp with their backs to a river, and a river kind of in front of them with a narrow path to it. And what I like about this is the Robert the Bruce and the boys are like, here, we'll have a fight in the morning? And the English are like, yep, 100%. They're in this narrow bit of strip of land with the river behind them, river in front of them, river to the sides. Joker's to the left of me, river's to the right and left. When they, in the middle of the night, because what Robert the Bruce is skilled in is like guerrilla warfare.
Right.
Because when he has got into these open battles, he's lost. What they do is hit and run. That's what they do. Middle of the night, dawn raids, that sort of thing. So they do a surprise attack. The English don't have time to get on their horses. So what happens is it's like a bottleneck. Only the first few lines of English soldiers can fight.
Right.
Because they have way more numbers, but they can't all get in.
Yeah.
So the Scottish boys are just coming up. They're coming up against these war horses. They're just coming up with spears. They're beating everyone. Robert, a bit like said to my face, some young guy, I want to say the Earl of Gloucester, his son, says to Robert the Bruce, fight me in hand-to-hand combat then, like fight me just off the horses. Robert Bruce is like dead on, splits his head, breaks his axe, and he said, I like this, the only regret he has is he broke his favourite axe.
That's baller, isn't it? Robert the Baller.
So what happens
That's
is
good, isn't it?
they
Imagine splitting somebody's fucking head with an axe.
at
Mad cunt.
at the Battle of Bannockburn, they absolutely wipe the floor
Right.
with the English, and Edward and like 500 of his men. I'm nearly sure there's 4,500 English there. 4,000 are done. A lot of them tried to flee into the water, but because they were wearing chainmail and heavy armour, they died. And there's an old Scottish
To be fair, you
legend.
would think they would have known about that.
There's an old Scottish legend that Robert the Bruce, I think said, or someone said, that you could have walked from one side of the river to the other on the backs of English bodies
Oh my god.
in the water.
Do you know what's mental about that as well though? See big pointy sticks.
Yeah.
They've been killing people for centuries. Like I mean, so when
What a hot
Caesar
take.
when
Millennia,
when
surely?
Caesar took what?
Millennia, surely?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when did I not say thousands of years? Centuries, sorry. When Caesar took Gaul, one of the things that he writes about in the conquest of Gaul in his commentary was the fucking that they would dig ditches. No, this is good. They would.
No, I'm saying
sorry,
scroll
I
down
thought you were
for me.
telling me to tell them the flesh.
Cheers, Dan.
They would dig ditches and put spikes in them, and you know what they would do, and they did this in the Vietnam War as well. See if you dip the spikes in shit, then even if it grazes you, you'll get infected.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so the spikes have got shit on them and all.
Oh, wow.
They did that. They were I think in Vietnam they were called punji sticks, and they would they made them in Vietnam for like one or two people to fall into, and it would fuck your legs up. But then when you get back to the hospital, they're like, here, you're losing that leg. Like, do you know what I
Right.
mean? Fucking grim.
The Battle of Bannockburn is the biggest win in Scottish military history. They just absolutely wipe the English out. Now Robert the Bruce has always like played all these sides, but he now after this every like he's the main. Who would be like? He'd be like Jerry Cinnamon now in Scotland.
Right. Okay.
Everyone loves him.
Yep.
Doing big gigs at Murrayfield or
Yep.
Hamden or wherever.
Imagine
wherever it is.
Robert the Bruce coming out before Bannockburn and just doing a fucking great live version of Belter.
Yeah.
You know.
He after this is kind of making raids into England, so it's not that he's, it's not that he's just
Yeah.
like we've got Scotland back. He's going into York and other parts
Yeah.
of England that are on the border. Something worth mentioning as well is you're going Robert the Bruce, what a hero, right? He still had these old arguments with some other like noble houses in Scotland.
Right. Right.
He would just go to his mates and go burn their village down with everyone in it, men, women, children. So like he is like a legend, like he is a legendary figure of Scottish history, but a historical bastard. But I can see why in Scotland he'd be a complete hero.
He's sort of both then, like,
Yeah.
defeating the English, but also being a bit of a hero to his own, like.
But he was a rebel because like the church was everything, and he wasn't afraid. Like he shed blood in the church. Like his idea of being like nothing would stand in his way.
Just for the history nerds, John Comyn was killed in it was 06.
Right. Right. Okay.
1306.
1306. Yeah. There's a 13-year truce agreed between England and Scotland.
Weird number.
Yeah.
Saying 13 years.
Now,
Oh, fucking.
one thing. Remember, I told you earlier about whenever like you win the lotto, like a week before you die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only a couple of years before he died was he was already like ill basically. So he spent his whole adult life has been
War.
war. Yeah, and just sounds exhausting. Oh, one point can I also point out one of the things I absolutely love about this story is he has another brother called Nigel, right? Yeah, Nigel the Bruce. And at one point he's like, Nigel, take care of this for me. And Nigel is like a small footnote in this story, hung, drawn, quartered. Like, whatever you do in history, don't get Nigel to sort it. Nigel's never sorted it. Nigel the Great, Nigel the Brave.
Yeah. Nigel the Impaler. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Nigel the Incompetent. Nigel is never... Sire, Nigel approaches.
Oh,
That's
look,
not going to strike fear.
Here comes Nigel, the soon-to-be quartered. Oh my god.
Nigel shows up in like a nice fleece.
Per Willies. Looks like he fucking runs he's gonna do a good one, Twink.
He's wearing Crocs.
Looks like he's gonna do a guest bit. This is so shit. Oh my god, fuck up. What do you call it? I can't even remember the name of the show. Homefront or something. What do you call that show on a Sunday night? Country File. Yeah,
Country File.
Looks like he's fuck that so bad. Let's move past that.
Anyway, Nigel's enjoyable, but yeah, after the Battle of Bannockburn, which you can go there, we could go.
You can go to Bannockburn.
Dan, we could get the ferry reeling. We could get the ferry, take a car, we could go over to, there's a visitor centre, there's a museum, we could go to Stirling, we could go to where the Battle of Bannockburn happened.
I would love that. I would
So
literally
would I.
love that. Do you know something? I think as well, if the two of us get the boat, they'll definitely upgrade us for free.
Oh, and we could go to the Nordic Spa.
Yes.
Historical High Five.
Free cake. Yes.
So what happens is, the English crown in 1328 recognised the independence of Scotland. There's the Treaty of Edinburgh and Northampton. In 1329, the Pope basically goes, here, everything's sweet. Pope goes, don't worry about it. Robert the Bruce, he's all good. You're sweet. You're under no... Because when the Pope heard what Robert the Bruce did, outlaw, he'd be like, fuck this guy, right? But in 1329, Robert the Bruce died. I think he was 54 in Dumbartonshire when he died. They think he died of leprosy, a lot of people think.
I know that his dad
Shit way to
meant
go.
that his dad has that in the movie.
Yeah.
Remember? Where
And he's all mad and all.
He's all mad. He lives up in the tower and just like peeks out from behind the.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing like all sheets and all. And He's
Yeah.
just like fucking.
So hit or myth, so much of it is hit, but
Yeah.
the thing that people think is the myth is the spider. They think it's just an analogy. The
I
spider.
wonder about the spider. The spider sounds like
I want
something.
that to be real.
It sounds like something that he made up for a TED talk, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After he's had the success,
Yeah.
and he's out giving like a chat, and he's like, "Here, I remember this night when I was hiding a fucking crack in Rathlin."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who hasn't done that? He saw a spider. Oh, it sounds like shit. That. You know what I
Dan,
mean?
out of 10, what are the chances we can go to the battle? We can go to Bannockburn. Out of 10.
Must be an 8. Like.
Let's say 7.5.
Oh,
Yes.
I think it's
Oh,
an 8.
please.
We should do that. I think we could go. I mean, I love the boat. Like,
Let's get a historical expert to meet us there and talk us through it from the museum.
Yes.
I think maybe you could take a guide, like you could take a...
I could just get a job there doing that.
Yeah.
I go, listen, don't worry about this. Some guy, I don't know when that
John
happened.
Common, he's dead. Nobody knows when.
John Common came back 12 times in that story.
I think this is definitely a hit, though. Like,
It's got to be a hit. I also think like Robert the Bruce, when he did side with England a lot. He did have self-interest, but it's a tale of a guy who just had a clear goal, which was to be the king of Scotland, to keep Scott. But I don't know, because he sided with the English a lot, although maybe he just felt he did what he had to do.
is that like opportunist sort of politics where you go right for now? It's that thing, though, isn't it, where you're playing both sides? So like,
Yeah.
you're gonna sort of side with the winner and then try and get your own bit.
Yeah.
So you're sort of being a bit of a dick, like.
Because he conspired a lot, and also near Bannockburn there's an abbey, which is really important to the whole battle. And he had a lot of like secret talks in there. The bishops of Scotland made him the king. Bishop makes king, is that the thing? Is that a chess term or something? But the
I don't know.
bishops, it was like the bishops picked him as the guy,
Right.
but I think they didn't expect him to be this like crazy
I
bastard.
wonder what he did
basically.
for them, though. Bishops don't pick it for no reason.
And when he
Cash.
Cash, and when he was coming back from all his expeditions, he's bringing them Iron Brew. I think. But please, let's go.
I would fully go.
I would go.
I love that.
But yeah,
But-
I think it's a great story.
I will insist, if we're going there, that on the way, like, and I mean maybe more than once. Fucking right.
Yeah,
That sounds exactly like it.
It's a story of ruthlessness, and he is such an important historical figure. Obviously, years later, Scotland and England join up to form Great Britain, but he is the reason Scotland is its own country.
Where was that union? Their union precedes the one with Ireland, doesn't it? I think they like in the 1700s or something. The union with Scotland and England. Because I know the union here is 1801.
Lady in red
Great, yeah.
is dancing with me. But we could go.
Bruce to Bruce.
Bannockburn.
1707.
1707.
Interesting.
So, yeah, huge, important figure in British history.
But Scotland was basically independent then, was it? From like
From this.
13 whatever there, 1328 until 1707, is that right? Did alright, like got them 400 years, you know what I mean?
Are you saying HGG, historical good guy, or what do you think? Because this guy did burn men, women, and children in villages.
I might go HBO, historical bootlicking opportunist. That's very hard to say though.
Right.
I was a HM, historical mouthful.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think we're living in different times then. He did unify Scotland. I can understand why Scottish people would think of him as a hero. He did a lot of heroic stuff. Brave, played the game, guerrilla warfare, master tactician. But like most figures in history we're finding out, did a lot of things that were probably very shit.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to do William Wallace and compare
Yeah.
their stances
Did
on
he
all
really
this.
did he really do the thing that they do in the movie where he fights against William Wallace, where he charges him down and fucking jousts him off a horse?
I don't know about that, but he was like swearingly, he was against Scotland
Yeah,
a lot.
he
like.
fought. It did say there that he fought against them in some battles. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Braveheart is based on like a poem that was written hundreds of years afterwards, so it's
right.
it's all a little bit.
Yeah.
Robert the Bruce, details sketchy, but we sort of got there.
I think we got. I think that was good. I didn't.
I'm gonna get crucified in the comments.
I don't think you will. I didn't know fucking any of that.
Yeah.
Like pretty much seriously up until now. Braveheart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dan, tell us a bit more about Rob Roy. We'll do an episode on Rob Roy. I'll do it to make up for it. But that was the Mythstories episode about Robert the Bruce. Thank you very much for joining us. Who knows what myth story we'll cover next time?
I know, but I won't say. But it also involves a bottleneck.